Chihiro is a madman with a special interest in zombies. Ever since he was a child, he has always dreamed of meeting a cute zombie in real life. Even Chihiro's group of friends find Chihiro's hobby strange. Chihiro's home is a family with a long association with an ancient shrine. In the evening, Chihiro sat down to have dinner with his family. It was a peaceful family except that his mother died when Chihiro was very young. He was content with his current family, until his pet cat was stabbed. His father regretted that the temple did not allow burial, so they had to take the pet cat out. He did the best he could. At night, Chihiro thought, his cat didn't deserve to die like that, so Chihiro got up to look for things. Last year when he went to support the flood area, an acquaintance gave him a book. It looks a lot like a respawn record. Chihiro went to dig up the cat and came to a place where the splash started. Until one day he saw a strange girl screaming loudly into the well. Early in the morning Chihiro went downstairs to get a lot of ice. Maro doubted her brother. Chihiro gave a lot to preserve the cat's body and then he went to school. On the way, his friend said that Chihiro didn't listen. Their school was right next to the main girls' school, so they had to go two separate ways. They come here to see the radio ladies only. Yasu stopped in to tell Chihiro that there was a very singing peach girl over there right now. Yasu points to her that Rei is the principal's niece. Ranko went to the press to tell his father Maro would stay at school late. She asked about Chihiro, since her pet cat died. Except for the time she went to school, Chihiro never left the room. Ranko ran up to call Chihiro. Seeing that he forgot his appointment, Ranko signed his head immediately. Chihiro suddenly asked about Rei. Heard Chihiro ask the girl in front of him. Ranko signed his head stronger. She dragged Chihiro to the bed and returned. Chihiro threw her the book and he wondered why he had to call Ranko older sister when they were only half a year apart. At night, Chihiro still went to research. There was one fuzzy device. Chihiro guessed that the ingredient needed poison. He tried many times without success. If it still doesn't work by the end of the week, he'll bury Babu. Again that girl came. She was extremely dissatisfied with her family. Chihiro accidentally made a water bottle. The girl discovered him. She sat up with Chihiro and suddenly ran into him. She wanted Chihiro to forget all this over and over in exchange for doing what Chihiro wanted. But seeing that Chihiro was not interested, she hugged her face and cried. She wanted to die. Chihiro comforted her discontentedly that she had to come here. The girl also assumed that Chihiro came here because of her resemblance. Chihiro introduced his work. He found himself selfish. But the cat girl definitely wanted to meet Chihiro, too. She wants to help Chihiro do this. Her father hates animals so her family never keeps them. She wished to cherish them even once. Chihiro is not interested in living people but only zombies. The girl approached and wanted to know if she became a zombie, he would be responsible. Chihiro suddenly pondered. She left home to meet Chihiro here tomorrow. At that time, Chihiro didn't think that she would actually turn into a zombie and come back to him. Episode 2. Rei sat attentively watching zombie movies. Heard Rei said she had never seen it, so Chihiro brought it here. Chihiro calls Rei to help her, wondering what to do next today. Chihiro sighed. He had tried everything with absolutely no success. Chihiro thinks it's time to bury Kabu. Chihiro pointed at the blacked out page. On top of that he couldn't read the page at all. Suddenly Rei remembered something. She got up and ran away. Rei's life since childhood has always been stereotypical. Rei is pampered by her father but that pampering gradually makes Rei feel abnormal. Every year he forces Rei to take nude photos. Her mother always treated her coldly. Nakada was the only friend Rei told this story to. Nakada advised Rei to stand up and fight. Only then did Rei regret this. Chihiro waited and did not see Rei's return, thinking that Rei was in danger. As soon as she came out, she saw Rei climbing a cliff. She slipped and fell. Fortunately Chihiro caught her in time. Chihiro gave Rei an explanation. Rei went to find herbs for Chihiro. She defied the danger because Chihiko would revive her no matter what. Chihiro was puzzled that he hadn't revived Babu yet. Rei came in front of her father begging him not to take pictures of her anymore. Cha glared at Rei. He knows you made Rei do this. But he wanted Rei to see. His love for Rei was greater than anything else. He moved over to touch Rei when he found her uncomfortable. He left the very next day. The Nakada family got into an accident. Father Rei put pressure on their family and forced them to move elsewhere. Rei ran to Nakata's house. Nakata was very angry. Rei didn't know how to explain. When Rei's father threatened her birthday, if she didn't want the people around her to be harmed, she should obey. Rei suffered so that the others could rest in peace. Rei gives Chihiro a hydrangea, which is the symbol of her family. It is poisonous. Chihiro found it strange that his grandfather was still chewing this as usual. Rei gave it to Chihiro to try. He concocted and then baked the product. Chihiro gave Rei to hold and then took out Babu. Rei silently took something more. They gave Babu to drink, but he didn't move. They left. Rei wanted to try again tomorrow, but Chihiro felt that was more than enough. He was going to bury Babu, so he asked Rei to help. Rei is very sad after this. Maybe they won't see each other again. Seeing Rei limping, Chihiro carried her back to the car. Chihiro brought Rei almost to the house. She sneaked out by secret route, so coming here is fine. Chihiro reminds Rei to go to Babu's funeral tomorrow. He let Rei's father see. Rei was about to enter the house and yelled at him. Chihiro got home and had just parked the car when Ranko looked over at him. Chihiro realized that he was out late at night and was discovered by Ranko. Ranko suspects that since Babu's death, Chihiro goes out every night. She rushes into the box thinking that Chihiro is obsessed with zombies and did something bad to Babu. As soon as the lid of the box was opened, Babu rushed out. Chihiro rolled her eyes. Rei stood in the room just apologizing. She took some of Chihiro's potion, but it didn't bring the dead back to life, but it didn't contain any poisonous ingredients. Rei took a sip and lay down on the bed. Episode 3, during the ride home, Chihiro doesn't say a word to Rei. He should have asked her about his future plans. Thinking about it, this might have been the last time he was able to save her. In her trance, Rei still has to face her father. She really wanted to die, but the next morning Rei was still awake. She sighed in front of the dining room. She smiled as she entered. Rei's mother blamed Rei for running away from home again. She got angry and didn't eat breakfast anymore. Rei approached her father, who apologized for hitting Rei. Rei could only collapse. Her father stroked Rei's cheek. He reminds Rei about the uniform. She will be studying at home from now on, so it's not necessary anymore. Someone came looking. Rei eavesdropped. Her father gave Chihiro a follower. In order to prevent him from approaching Rei, her father requested Chihiro's castration as well. Rei panicked and didn't understand what her father was doing. Ranko whined at Mero. Mero thought his brother was just a weirdo who likes zombies, who expected him to take the body of a cat for an experiment. Chihiro smiled, but thanks to that, Babu returned. Ranko was worried, what if Babu bit someone? Chihiro was a little worried, but he still thought it wasn't like the movie. Babu ran away, and Chihiro and Ranko quickly chased after him. Usually Babu was easy to catch, but now it's too difficult. Chihiro reminded Ranko of today's practice. She thinks that as an older sister, she must follow her brother closely. Rei hid out again. Her mother knew, but she just smiled without warning. Babu got into the sewer. Chihiro jumped inside. This drain was so small that Ranko got stuck. She screamed for Chihiro's help, but he ignored it and left. The sewer was too long to crawl until Chihiro reached the other end. Surprisingly, it was located right behind the abandoned building Chihiro frequented. Yasu and Mogi tease each other at school. Yasu just wished now that some digging girl would come to pray to see him, and just as he said that, Rei came to ask about Chihiro. He's not here. Yasu wants to know why Rei met Chihiro. Hearing the word castration, Yasu is also a bit pale. Rei thanked and ran away. She didn't know where Chihiro was. Her father knew that she escaped. He did not order his subordinates to arrest him but let them follow Rei. Chihiro searched for Babu. He was nowhere to be found, and Ranko disappeared as well. Chihiro caught Babu eating hydrangea leaves. It was strange that it was also going to rain. Looking up at the cliff, Chihiro saw Rei. He didn't understand what she was doing at this hour. Rei tries to get to the hotel to meet Chihiro. Her father and his subordinates suddenly appeared. He went over to ask Rei to return. She pushed his hand away. She wanted to be free. Babu jumped straight up there. Seeing the three cat, Rei scared back. And Rei just ran to Babu's side. She was surprised when the drug was successful. Rei's father pulled out a whip to hit, but Rei stopped him and fell off the cliff. The branch pierced Rei's stomach, and Rei was covered in blood and lay still in front of Chihiro. When it started to rain, Chihiro rushed over to wake Rei. She remained motionless, Chihiro crying as he promised to revive her but failed to do so. Just as she was about to leave, Rei woke up and walked over to where Chihiro reminded her of the promise. If she turns into a zombie, he has to take responsibility for her. Chihiro was stunned, but he kept his promise to Rei. Episode 4, Daichiro was bewildered, not understanding what he had just done. Seeing Rei stand up, he breathed a sigh of relief. Rei did not approach him but left. Rei is no longer human, so she is no longer his son. Rumors of Rei running away from home reached the ears of the maids. They gathered to discuss when the landlady returned. When she heard that her daughter had run away from home, she rushed to ask Daichiro. Since he came home, he just soaked in the bath and didn't say a word. Arya rushed to blame. If news of Rei ran away from home, her position as principal would be shaken. Arya wants to know where Rei is going. Daichiro suddenly remembered. He assumed that Rei left him because of the kid Chihiro. Sanko Girls' Academy has a special class called needlework. They do a little bit of work before school, which is why Rei can now sew up her torn stomach. Holding Rei's shirt, Chihiro blushed in embarrassment. Rei was happy to confuse him. This is Rei's first time entering the room as a boy. Juniors invited Ranko to eat but she refused. Ranko had planned in his mind to break Chihiro's neck for daring to leave her behind and run after Babu. Rei looked out the door to get some fresh air. She pointed at Babu. Chihiro was surprised that Babu's eyes were more reactive than yesterday. Seeing Chihiro like that made Rei think he liked her doing zombie-like things. Rei tried it, but Chihiro turned away. Rei is carefree because Chihiro has promised to take responsibility for everything. Rei smiled brightly. She wanted him to take her everywhere to experience life like a normal girl. Suddenly Rei approached Chihiro. They were about to kiss when Ranko stood below and shouted for Chihiro. Ranko wanted to go to his room, but Chihiro stopped him. He told Rei to stay where he was and ran to pick up Ranko. Rei was embarrassed that she didn't understand what she was going to do just now. Ranko led Chihiro to the riverbank to torture him. Yasu appears. He asks Chihiro to introduce himself to Rei. Ranko was surprised when Chihiro knew Rei. She had been suspicious ever since Chihiro asked. Chihiro suddenly remembered. His dream was to have a Zenbi girlfriend. Now that Rei was here, it was a wish to see. Rei sat waiting for Chihiro to return, wondering who the girl who called Chihiro was. Rei remembered that there was no one in Chihiro's house, so she ran down to take a shower. She did not feel hot or cold. Still, Rei was happy because it was her first time bathing in such a small place. Grandpa Chihiro entered. He mistook Rei for his ex-wife. Rei was so scared that she pushed him away and ran away. It wasn't until later that Chihiro settled the matter. Maro invites him to dinner, which Chihiro is not interested in. As soon as Chihiro entered the room, she saw Rei naked. He turned away and remembered that he was talking to zombies like a dream. Chihiro excitedly approached Rei to ask questions, but he still reminded her to get dressed. Rei was still smiling. She couldn't move on her own anymore. Chihiro looked at him strangely. When he touched it, Rei's body stiffened. Chihiro remembered that this was a frozen self-exam. Even if Rei was sober, now that she was dead, within a month her flesh would have rotted away leaving only her bones. Chihiro will preserve Rei's body. Episode 5. Chihiro puts Rei on the bed and goes to the church to sleep. Chihiro must quickly preserve Rei's body or her flesh will rot. The next morning Chihiro asked Maro about the book on mummification. As far as Chihiro knew, Formar was the simplest method, but very smelly. He had to make sure his family and neighbors didn't notice. It wasn't good to leave Rei like this. Chihiro took out the things from the closet and tried to put her in. Chihiro picked up Rei. He tripped and blushed as Rei's whole body pressed against him. Still urging his father, Chihiro quickly put Rei in the cupboard. Suddenly there was a strange sound. Chihiro was surprised when Rei was still hungry. Wait until her body is stiff, he will bring food. Chihiro went down to have breakfast with her family. Chihiro remembered Rei's smile. He turned to ask Maro what was normal and then stopped. Ranko just got out of the house and met his juniors. Rei hasn't been to school lately, making her very worried. Ranko didn't care and left. The little girl followed the radiant and beautiful Rei but still saw her sad expressions. It's fine if Rei is just a normal student, but there's no one in the school who doesn't know Rei. She brought a photo with Rei to show off. She was worried if something happened to Rei. Ranko leaves. Today is a day off, so Chihiro's family gathers to clean the house. Chihiro feels uncomfortable now is not the time to do this. Chihiro's father reminded him, he heard that Chihiro brought back another cat right after Babu died. Chihiro was sure it was Babu who had come back to life. Grandpa also joined Chihiro, claiming that Babu's resurrection was due to his resurrection potion. Chihiro was startled to ask him, he did not remember what he just said and went to take a bath. Chihiro wanted to run after him, but his father kept him and did the rest of the work. Chihiro thought as he did, if his uncle had made a resurrection potion, he must have known how to preserve corpses. Mero's arrival startled Chihiro. She is sure that Chihiro's room is very dirty, so after this is done, she will come up to clean his room. Chihiro hurriedly kept it so he could do it himself. Ranko brings food to Mero. Ranko is so kind that her father is very embarrassed, only she can cure Chihiro. He thought that it would be a blessing if Chihiro got Ranko, and after hearing that, Ranko patted Chihiro's head. Ranko tells Chihiro about Rei. Seeing Chihiro's interest, she knows he's his ideal type. Ranko left first, but she suddenly returned to look for zombie movies. Ranko goes up to Chihiro's room to look for zombie movies. Chihiro thought that Rei was feeling hungry just now. Obviously her stomach was already broken. Ranko couldn't choose a movie. She spotted a long black hair nearby, definitely not Chihiro's. Ranko's spine went cold. She opened the door and saw no one. Rei was already behind her. Rei pinned Ranko down. Ranko was very scared. Blood poured from Rei's stomach. Ranko wanted to take her to the hospital, but Rei didn't show any emotion. Ranko immediately remembered the zombies in the movie. Rei took off Ranko's shirt. Ranko shouted. Hearing Chihiro running up, Rei was licking Ranko's chest. Chihiro quickly pulled Rei away. As soon as she saw Rei, she called his name and rushed in to kiss Chihiro. Chihiro was so shocked he wanted to separate Rei, but she hugged her too tightly. Episode 6, Rei became a zombie. Ranko believes that Chihiro killed Rei to satisfy his passion and turned her into a zombie. Rei crept out the window to follow Babu. When Chihiro noticed that he was chasing him, he asked Ranko to come down and call him to help him. Chihiro had just climbed out to meet his father, who wondered what Chihiro was doing. Chihiro quickly dodged. Chihiro ran out to see Miss Rei chewing hydrangea leaves. Rei's eye color was back to normal. Chihiro realizes that this leaf is the poison ingredient in the medicine. If eaten, it can prolong time. Ranko brought out his grandfather, who was now more lucid, and gave Chihiro an explanation. It is true that this drug was invented by him. The medicine Chihiro made was incomplete. It could only prolong the decay time of corpses. He was about to say something important when Ranko hurled the vial at his head. Dad and Mero didn't understand what they were doing either. He mumbled again, Mero leading him inside. Chihiro hadn't heard it yet, but at least he was able to get some information. Now he had to figure out how to preserve Rei's body. His father wondered about Rei. Chihiro was discovered, so he didn't hide it anymore. He asked his father's permission to let Rei stay. His father was a bit taken aback, rarely seeing Chihiro being serious other than talking about zombies. This temple had previously hosted refugees, so he agreed to let Rei stay. Looking at Rei like that, Ranko was a bit sad. She grabbed Chihiro's neck teasingly. Ranko remembers that she still has to deliver, so she grabs Chihiro's shirt and runs away. From that night, Chihiro decided to keep a diary, as he said. Rei felt a little embarrassed being alone in Chihiro's room. She invites Chihiro to stay with him. He doesn't feel well. Just thinking about them kissing is embarrassing. Startled, Rei asked Chihiro, who didn't seem to remember anything. Mero heard it all. She was happy that her brother was enjoying his youth. Chihiro even went back to the movie to monitor Rei's body, all normal. Rei was very shy. Chihiro announced that he would shoot every day from now on. Chihiro went downstairs to eat. His father did not see Chihiro call Rei down. Chihiro explained that Rei did not want to burden the family. Mero cooked the whole part for Rei. She wanted Chihiro to relay the words. The whole family would be very happy if she would come down to eat with her. Rei has lost her taste buds, now she can pretend to eat. Ranko brought Chihiro's clothes. Chihiro can only explain that Rei is not her girlfriend. Ranko leaves. Chihiro brought up her clothes and saw Babu and Rei sitting together. Looking at them like that, they weren't living beings anymore. Chihiro and Rei went out for a walk. In the eyes of the viewer, Rei is still normal, no one knows she is a zombie. Rei had lost the ability to excrete, now she really felt that she was dead. But she was still happy to be with Chihiro. Chihiro promises to take responsibility for Rei from now on. On the way back, Chihiro was still thinking about how to preserve Rei's body. He didn't notice the car approaching, and Rei jerked Chihiro back. She was too strong to throw Chihiro away. Chihiro was injured. Rei rushed to apologize. Seeing him bleeding, Rei licked Chihiro's wound to prevent infection.